going to be bringing you the third walkthrough in my historical battles series. We're still on Rome Total War. It's the third battle in Rome, historical battle in Rome Total War. It's the Battle of Telamon. That'll be the Gauls versus the Romans. So without mucking around, I'll just start the little intro. You can enjoy that, and then we'll get into the specifics when that finishes. So hope you enjoy the intro, and I'll see you in a moment.
25 BC, and the bloody First Punic War is at an end. Rome now expects little resistance as she uses her might and influence. The mere sight of her armies quashes any signs of opposition. Peace, however, never seems to last. Gallic tribes and mercenaries have marched from Transalpine Gaul into Etruria through an unguarded pass in the Apennines. To meet this invasion, the Romans have called on resources and manpower from across central and southern Italy. A powerful defensive force has been rapidly mobilized. Maneuvered the Gauls, forcing these barbarians towards the Tuscan coast. Meanwhile, a second Roman army has landed at Pisae. The Gauls now have no line of retreat. They are surrounded, trapped. Assailed from both sides, the Gauls must fight for their very existence as a free people. Their only hope for survival is to quickly defeat the Roman forces in front of them, and then turn to deal with the Romans approaching from the rear. Or their defeat is certain.
Okay guys, hope you enjoyed that. So let's get to it. The Battle of Telamon. Now the Battle of Telamon, basically like the like Marcus, I believe it's Marcus who does the little intros there. I believe it's Marcus if I can remember. Is a interesting battle where you kind of got two armies to fight. However, it's not as hard as it's made to seem, because they're both pre-Marian Roman armies, and if you can see the units there, the unit rosters, I've got 6 units of chosen swordsmen, which are much better than Astarte, Principe, and Triarii, and then I've got better cavalry as well, and they're well upgraded and all. So the Gallic army you get given is actually really quite powerful in comparison to the Roman forces you're fighting. However, you don't want to completely underestimate those Roman units because they are pretty well upgraded. Now what you need to do, like Marcus said, is quickly destroy this army in front of you, and there's not really much to worry about it. You just need to try and do it very quickly. The faster you can do it, the more time you have to deal with the other army. So I'll unpause this and you'll see how I go about it. It's pretty straightforward here. So what you want to do is just move your chosen swordsmen in and use your dogs and your cavalry on the flanks there. The dogs will help scare the Roman forces into routing sooner. Preferably they probably shouldn't get charged like mine just did by that general unit if you can avoid that. Now you can use war cry if you want, however I don't find it to be that necessary, because it's not really that big a deal, because as you can see the Roman troops get pretty clustered. Now you can use those 2 skirmisher units as a peeler screen if you like, but usually the Romans don't, the AI doesn't stop to throw its peeler, but you can in case it looks like it's going to, but in this case it didn't. And that's why the dogs are handy, because they can cause a chain rout quite quickly. You'll see in a moment these guys will just start routing really quickly. As you can see they're starting to rout en masse, and the dogs are very useful for helping that happen a little bit sooner. So key is just quickly get this fight out of the way quickly. Now you do want to pick up as many other routers as possible before they have time to regroup and interfere with the second fight. So try and get the Hastati and the Principe and the cavalry if possible. Try and get as much as you can. And here I was just getting rid of the restrict camera because I don't like the restrict camera, it annoys me. Now what you want to do is run up to the other side, run up this hill, get the high ground. That'll make it even easier for dealing with the other army. I actually left that unit behind, but as you can see, there's only a spear warband, you don't really need it. But it's helpful. So try and get as much of these routers as possible to stop them from regrouping. You don't want them getting behind your guys or while you're reforming. And what I recommend you doing is running up to the hill here. Now it's kind of hill campy, but who cares? You're trying to win these battles by whatever means necessary, and if you go up here you just increase your chances. So it's all good, and it works very well if you're dealing with two. It's not good if sometimes if you're caught on the low ground and enemy units regroup from the first army, they can sandwich you, and that can cause some problems. But if you do this right, you should have mopped up most everything you're facing, by which point you can just simply come up here. And the other Roman army only ever, in my experience, it only ever walks, so you can just take your time and let your guys rest once they get up here, and then face the Romans at your own leisure. A very straightforward battle, and it's probably, again, much like Raffia, it's probably about the same level of difficulty as Raffia. I tend to consider Raffia a wee bit easier than this one, simply because sometimes this one can go a little bit skew if you do some things wrong, but overall it's a pretty straightforward battle as well. So basically, as you can see, what I'm doing here is I'm just going to come up the top of the hill here, and I'm just going to deploy, give my guys some time to rest. As you see, that Roman army's a long way away. Sometimes it moves a bit quicker. Most of the time I find it just walks. You can go to triple speed, but it's pretty straightforward. What you want to do is just knock that first army out quickly, like the advisor says, and pick up whatever routes as much as you can so it can't come back and get behind you and be a nuisance. And basically the other army is essentially an identical one. This is probably the only time you'll find where the Gauls are actually stronger than Rome, simply because Rome has to use Primarian units in this battle because it's set in 225 BC, and Rome was still had not done the Marian reforms. It's not going to do the Marian reforms for about another 100 years yet by this point. So they still have to use like Hastati, Principe and Triario. And as I said in my actual my Roman faction overview video, that Primarian units are not really that effective. They're okay, but they're not great. However, you're not really going to have a heap of success with them. So this Gallic army, we've got Chosen Swordsmen. Chosen Swordsmen can hold their own against like legionary cohorts, Praetorian cohorts, and they can even hold out against urban cohorts for a while if they don't take Pila. So they're way better infantry, so you really do have quite a big advantage here. It's one of those historical battles where you're given better stuff, basically. So it's quite useful if you just know the specifics of the units. So I mean, I reckon it'd be more fun to try and do this with the Romans, to be honest, and same with like the Battle of Raphia, but it'd be more fun to do it with the Egyptians because it'd be harder. Anyway, what you want to do now is you can use your dogs, your dog handlers as a peeler screen. You can use your javelins as a peeler screen. You can use the spear warband as a cav support or peeler screen, just depends on what you want to do. However, spear warband don't actually have any bonus versus cav, but sometimes it's good to have an extra unit in there. Now you can use the war cry here if you like. You should have time for it, and that's always quite handy because it'll just kind of scare your opponents. But as you can see, the AI tends to jumble itself up. It's pretty stupid. And then you can just charge it. It won't even usually it won't even bother with its peeler, but if it does, you've got units guarding like I have got here. And you just get a nice downhill charge with war cry on, and you can send your cav on the flanks and bust through the flanks. As you can see, I've done that already on the right flank there, and you just get in behind them. You can go after those velites if you like, but I would recommend you go around and encircle them and hammer and emblem the flank, like what I'm going to do here. And basically the same sort of thing. Try and win on the flanks there. Use your general to rally. You don't want. Make sure also, it's very key, don't lose your general as the barbarians, because if barbarians lose their general, it's very dangerous for them because they can rout very, very quickly. So even though you're versing pre-Marion units and you easily have the advantage, if you lose your general you can rout. So be sure you don't lose your general, but it's a good general's bodyguard unit and it will do very well on hammer and anvils and cav fights. So don't not use it, but just be aware that don't be reckless with it, because unlike with Romans and like Greeks and stuff, the loss of your general is much more risky when you're a barbarian faction. So it's very important that you make sure you don't lose your general, but he should be alright. He's pretty well upgraded, as you can no doubt see by the stats there in the unit cards. But basically what I'm going to do is just hammer and anvil units what are left. It's a pretty easy one as well. Much like Raphia, this is an easy battle. But just as you come out to this hill is a good way to give yourself an extra advantage. You don't really need to do it, but I just find it's the best way to give yourself the advantages. And I'm just trying to show you guys the most effective ways to do these historical battles. But honestly, you don't really need to do that, but it just helps, makes it even easier. As you can see, I still have tons of my chosen swordsmen and my cavs in good numbers. Honestly, it's a very, very easy battle, simply because you've got much better units, much in the same way that Raphia is. But not all of the historical battles are like this. Some of the later ones get a wee bit more tricky because you don't have that quality of units. But so far the most difficult one would have been Trasimene that I've shown you so far. But there are harder ones here. But these last two, Telamon and Raphia, have been a couple of the easier ones. But ultimately they do get a bit harder, and there's probably a more harder one coming next if you don't know the pattern. So I believe the next one is Jugovia, which is actually Romans versus Gauls again, only this time you'll be the Romans, and you don't have to use a pre-Marian Roman army because it's during Caesar's conquest of Gaul. So anyway guys, heroic victory, so it's a pretty easy one. So just quickly knock out that first army and then run off anything that first army's routing, so you've got nothing coming back getting into your flank, and then you can just run up the hill, get the high ground, and basically just fight the second army piecemeal, as your chosen swordsmen are way better than any of the infantry they got. As you can see, high kills for the cav and for the infantry there, not many losses. So anyway guys, I hope these are helping. I hope you're enjoying these historical battles. They're a lot of fun. I do recommend playing them. I do believe it's the Battle of Jugovia that comes as the fourth battle, so that will be coming up next. So we can look forward to that. And anyway guys, I will catch you soon next time, and many thanks for watching. Elite Legionary signing off.